Welcome back. I'm Nick Smith. Disturbing new details involving a suspected kidnapper on the West Coast. Court documents revealing a series of handwritten notes found at the suspect's home, appearing to target innocent victims who knew very few people. This comes just days after a woman escaped a makeshift cinder block cell in his basement, ultimately exposing crimes that would eventually lead to a national investigation. Authorities fear there could be more victims as far away as Nevada, Alabama, even Florida. Brandon Thompson with our station in Portland joins me live. Brandon, let's start with these handwritten notes titled Operation Takeover. What exactly did they say?
Well, good afternoon, Nick. There are two documents that the FBI found at that residence in Klamath Falls. One is a diagram that says digging a foot 100 feet down. It lists materials like waterproof concrete as well as insulation. The other that lists Operation Takeover at the top. That's the one that's probably most alarming. It lists instructions like leaving a phone at home. And then it says, quote, make sure they don't have a bunch of people in their life. You don't want there to be any type of investigation, end quote. They're simple documents, but what they say is pretty alarming.
Brandon, go back to me. So he purposely, it suggests that he was looking for people that, okay, so-and-so's missing. I don't notice her gone right away because there wasn't anyone with whom they were in contact with regularly?
So that is something that is listed on the document. The FBI notes that they think that there is an escalating pattern of behavior, as you heard before the break. And the woman that did escape from that Klamath Falls home, the FBI says that Nichole Berlie was looking for a prostitute that night and then drove her 7 hours south from Seattle all the way down to Southern Oregon.
And in that time, he had her like shackled by the hands and feet, correct?
Yes, he was impersonating a police officer is what the FBI was told by this victim, had handcuffs, had leg shackles on her as well. And it was about when they were halfway through the drive that the victim noticed the directions on the phone that Berlie had with him, that they were traveling a far distance. So that's when she started to raise, her awareness started to raise. They got to that home, and that's when she was able to break through, punching through that makeshift cell and being able to escape and wave down a driver.
Now let's go back. The suspect, we said in the intro to you, may have lived in other states over the last few years. What do we know about that?
So there are 12 states since 2012 that the FBI knows that Berlie has lived in. The most common are California and Alabama. He has also spent time in Colorado. Most of the states in the West Coast, including Las Vegas and Nevada, as well as a residence in Vancouver, Washington. That's just a couple miles north of us here in Portland. And then the Klamath Falls home was his last known residence. But the interesting thing is the FBI notes that there's a lot of crossover between the time he was living in different states. So it seems like he was in different places at similar times, crisscrossing the country in some cases.
Well, talk a little bit about what his neighbors have had to say since this arrest.
Yeah, so in that Vancouver home, Berlie was leasing that house, and the landlord who owns it, as well as the neighbors who live near there, say he was also subleasing to several people. That wasn't allowed in the lease, and that landlord did seek an eviction. But the neighbors and even the people who lived in that house that we were able to talk to describe him as very combative. There's a cell phone video that is almost a screaming match between a neighbor and Berlie. There's also a lot of combative text messages that we have found in those eviction papers as well between Berlie and the landlord. So there's a lot of history in that Vancouver home. That was just before he moved to Klamath Falls, according to what the FBI has told us, and that was his time there.
And Brandon, I know that there will be many more elements to come out in this case as it moves forward. Brandon Thompson in Portland reporting for us live. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.